All right, so part B of exponential functions from 2 data points. So this time we're doing the algebra, okay? So if you've been struggling with the regression model with the calculator, it's okay. We're gonna learn a little bit by hand and see if it makes you feel a little bit better. Got it? All right, here we go. So there is one really funny story in here. I don't know if y'all read it. It's a little concerning, but just roll with the stories. Okay. All right. Here we go. Dylan releases new music on one of his social media platforms. One particular song of his had 500 listens on the day he released it, and 1,725 listens 5 days after he released it. Write an exponential function model for this scenario and use it to estimate the number of listens he might expect the song to get on 21 days. Okay. I'm gonna just go back to calculator page. I'm gonna reset my calculator just so that it's clear of all other things. All right. So the first thing we have to do is we have to figure out our ordered pairs. So what are the ordered pairs that we're working with? So we have 0 and 500, because on day 0 we had how many? 500. Are you cool with that? Okay. And we have 5 and 1,725, because on day 5 we had 1,725 listens. Are you comfortable with identifying, guys?
My brother said,
Oh, put it away. Are we comfortable identifying the ordered pairs from the word problem? Okay. Step 2 is we're going to find our growth factor. So we're going to find our growth factor. In order to find the growth factor, you got to identify your A, which is from the easy enough, right?
Yeah.
It's our 0, our initial amount. And then we're going to use X and Y from our second point that's given to us. And we're going to substitute these things into Y equals A times B to the X. Okay, so I'm going to put A where I'm going to substitute in A for A, Y for Y, X for X. Cool? All right, so substituting in, here we go. So this becomes 1,725 equals 500 times B to the 5. Okay, questions? I just put Y where Y was, A where A was, X was X was. Agreed? All right, now we're going to start using PEMDAS backwards, which I like to call SADMET. Okay. Yeah, so. Why do we not? We don't, because we don't know our growth factor. We have to find the growth factor. We're not given our growth factor this time, are we? We're not given our percent change either. So we're having to find it. We got to find it. All right. So we're doing PEMDAS backwards, which means that we're undoing the math. So when we're undoing the math, it's called inverse operations, right? So if I have 500 times B to the 5, how do I get rid of that? How do I cancel out multiplication? Divide. So undoing multiplication means I'm dividing both sides by 500. Do you all remember isolating variables? We're okay? Have I lost anybody? No. Okay, so we're getting B to the 5th by itself. Okay, we want to leave it as a fraction or a reduced fraction, but we want to avoid decimals until the very end so that you can hold your exact value all the way through. So if you're going to put it in the calculator, when you're putting in the calculator, you're just putting it in to reduce for you, but you want to keep it as a fraction. If you want this to stay as a fraction, you're going to press math 1. So math, and then I press 1, and then I press enter, and it will give me the fraction of that. Okay, so again, we typed it in 1,725 divided by 500 to keep it as a fraction, math 1, and then you press enter, and it will give you your fraction form. Okay, so if you need to make a note to yourself, math then 1 makes it a fraction, okay? All right, so our reduced fraction is 69 over 20 equals b to the 5. Okay, so we isolate it where b's not quite by itself. So the next thing is to get rid of the exponent. So we've already did, there is nothing to add or subtract away. We already did the multiplying, dividing. There are no parentheses. Well, we're at the e, which is exponent. The opposite of an exponent is its reciprocal. Okay, what does it mean to reciprocate a number? To flip it. Thank you. Okay, you're flipping the number. So if I have 5, it becomes what? Good job, Tevin. So this becomes 1 to the 5th. And what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So I'm putting this whole fraction as 1 to the 5th. And this cancels that out. So now b is by itself. Okay, so going back to vocabulary from Algebra 1, reciprocal. If I'm looking for the reciprocal of a number, that means my numerator and denominator are switching places. So if I have,
Wait, so why are we trying to find the 16?
because you're trying to isolate b by itself.
It's like X.
You're solving for b, you're getting the variable by itself, so you have to
Oh,
undo
so
everything.
you have the five.
We're getting rid of the exponent. That's why I said we're doing PEMDAS backwards, sad net. Okay? So again, a reciprocal. Where's my cursor? There it is. So to reciprocate, if I have 2, its reciprocal is 1 over 2. If I have 3 over 2, its reciprocal is 2 over 3. Is that ringing some bells when you say to reciprocate?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so to find our b, this is what we're plugging in. So in the calculator, you're gonna put in 69 divided by 20 to the 1/5 power, and we found our growth factor.
We do math one.
Mm-mm. So you're gonna give me the, so b is approximately what? Well, there we go. So I'm gonna, my calculator is a little old school, so I have to use a bunch of parentheses. You can write it exactly how I write it, but to the 1/5. Okay, so you're putting in, and then once you have it, you press enter. And we're around to the nearest hundredths, which means how many decimal places? 2. So what is our b? 1.28. Okay, if you got it, if you didn't get it, ask your neighbor. Okay, and then step 3 is to write our model. Okay, to write your model, you just need your A and your B. Do we have our A and our B? Yes, so what is our model? 500. Uh-huh. Times.
1.28.
So that's our model, right? So now can we answer the question? So then we solve the problem. So to solve, it wants to know, what is it? 21 days. So if x equals 21, what do we get? You either can put that in and look at the table, or because we type, look at the graph, or you could just substitute 21 in. So 500 times 1.28 to the 21 gives me, so at the rate he's going, by the 21st day, he should have about 89,203 listens, not likes, but listens. We don't know if people like it or not. They've listened to it, okay? How do we feel about the algebra?
Fun. You ruined something. Screw you. I enjoyed something. And then you add
This is part B. This is part B. We can't stay on part A forever. You're actually doing math. Isn't that crazy? All right.
How do we do that?
Huh?
The 69, we canceled out the B
Uh-huh.
thingy, how do we get the 28?